Here's a twist for you. What if Cyberpunk 2 ends up being the game that CD Projekt Red thought that Cyberpunk 2077 was going to be all along? Not just a bigger version of Night City, not just prettier graphics running in the Unreal Engine 5. I'm talking about everything. A denser world, smarter AI, more reactive NPCs, multiple cities, deeper RPG systems, maybe even online features layered into the experience. Because over the last year, we've actually gotten more information about Cyberpunk 2 than a lot of people realize. And when you start putting all the pieces together, well, we're getting a very interesting picture. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. I read every single comment on every single video. Today we go over everything. Leaks, rumors, speculation, confirmation, all of it about the upcoming Cyberpunk 2. Now the crazy thing is, people still think Cyberpunk 2 is some distant concept sitting on a whiteboard somewhere. That's not the case. CD Projekt Red has been hiring aggressively. They revealed who's leading the project. They've talked about where development stands. Even Mike Pondsmith himself has dropped some pretty interesting clues about where this franchise is going. So today, we're going to try to get there. We're going to drive where this place is going. First thing I want to do is separate the reality from the internet hype for you guys. A lot of people hear the word Cyberpunk 2, and they immediately assume the game must be halfway finished now because Cyberpunk 2077 launched years ago. The reality is much different. CD Projekt officially announced the sequel back in 2022, 4 years ago, under the code name Project Orion. But the actual development timeline kind of tells a different story. Throughout 2024, the studio was still building teams. They were establishing their leadership, and they were laying the foundation for the project. Then in 2025, CDPR officially confirmed that the conceptual phase had ended, and this game was officially in pre-production. That sounds exciting. That's movement. It's movement forward, but pre-production's still pretty early. It means the major ideas are still being locked down. Systems, they're still being tested and prototyped. I mean, the teams are still expanding and growing, and the vision, it's trying to get there. It doesn't mean they're polishing missions or putting together launch trailers or going gold with the disc. It doesn't. But what's encouraging is that they're making it and who's making the game. One of the biggest reasons Cyberpunk 2077 turned itself around after one of the worst launches in gaming history was the team behind the 2.0 update in Phantom Liberty. These were not minor improvements. Those updates fundamentally changed how people viewed the game. I mean, the combat was better, the progression felt better, police systems were improved, vehicle combat arrived. The entire experience became far closer to what they told us we would get in the beginning. So the good news is many of those same people are now on Cyberpunk 2. Gabrielle Amatangelo is involved. Paolo Sasco is involved. Multiple Phantom Liberty veterans are involved. These are the people who lived through the launch disaster. They heard the criticism. They took it to heart. They spent years fixing the game and now have the opportunity to build a sequel from the ground up with everything they've learned. And honestly, I think that's the most encouraging thing that we have about Cyberpunk 2. Because the biggest problem with the original wasn't the world, wasn't the story, it was awesome. Wasn't the characters. Night City itself remains one of the most impressive settings in gaming history. The problem was the world felt less interactive than it looked, and launch state glitches and bugs and everything. Anyway, you walk through these streets packed with neon lights, towering skyscrapers, giant advertisements, all the visual detail and clarity. It was like you're walking through a movie rather than a living city, and that's where some of the most interesting Cyberpunk 2 rumors start showing up. I'm not talking about random Reddit rumors, not anonymous insider posts. I'm talking about actual clues coming from CD Projekt Red's own hiring campaigns. So there are several job listing references creating more reactive crowds. They want more realistic NPC behavior, which all games do now, stronger environmental interaction, and a deeper systemic gameplay. Now, before you get carried away with that, hiring language is not a feature confirmation. I know that. Every studio aims high when they hire, of course, but when multiple positions all start talking about realistic crowd behavior, advanced animation systems, more reactive encounters, it's obvious what direction the studio is going here. They want the city itself to feel alive and become part of your gameplay. So imagine walking into a district and seeing NPCs react differently depending on your gang influence or your police presence or even the economic conditions at the time or your own rep. Imagine crowds that don't just walk predetermined paths. They actually behave like people. Imagine open world events that emerge naturally instead of just feeling scripted. And those are the kinds of improvements that could transform Cyberpunk from a really good world into a truly believable one. And then, we like clues here. Biggest clue of all. Night City is probably not going to be the only city in the sequel. Probably not going to be the main city in the sequel. Came directly from Cyberpunk creator Mike Pondsmith himself. Now, he didn't reveal the official story details, But he did mention that Night City still exists in the sequel, but there's another city that players will apparently visit. And we've talked about this in the past, and said it feels like a version of Chicago gone horribly wrong. So let's be careful here and tread lightly. He didn't officially say it's Chicago. He didn't reveal a map. He didn't say a location, but he implied. For years, Cyberpunk basically was Night City. The city carried the entire franchise. Every major story, every major event, every major character eventually led back to Night City. So if Cyberpunk 2 introduces a second major urban environment, I mean, the scale of the franchise expands dramatically. You could have different cultures, different gangs, different corporate power structures, different social problems. Night City already has the Blade Runner inspired feel, right? A second city could push the franchise into a completely different territory while still being Cyberpunk. I think this is one of the smartest directions they could go. Night City, it needs to return. It would feel wrong if they left it behind, but revisiting the same city again and again and expecting players to be amazed, I don't think so. Then we have one of the most important questions of all. Whether we're in Chicago or something like Chicago or Night City, or we're taking the train back and forth, what is this story actually going to be about? I mean, we don't know. No protagonist, no major faction reveals, no confirmed returning characters. We have nothing official, but I do have educated guesses based on the theme CD Projekt Red has been exploring. So Cyberpunk has always been about the corporations, the power, the technology, and those ideas aren't going anywhere. If anything, I think they're going to be more relevant. So look around right now. Artificial intelligence, advancing rapidly. Mega corporations obviously continue to gain influence. You've got questions around all that: privacy, surveillance, automation, digital identity. The world is slowly moving closer to Cyberpunk's themes. And because of that, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Cyberpunk 2 leans hard, even harder into AI. Not rogue AI hiding behind the black wall, not net running or anything like that, but larger questions about what happens when artificial intelligence becomes impossible to control, becomes sentient. The Black Wall, of course, remains one of the most fascinating mysteries in Cyberpunk lore. Beyond it are AI entities that even the corporations fear. I mean, the first game, it touched on them, but there's so much territory still to explore. So a sequel could easily build its entire central conflict around humanity losing control of technology created. And there's also the possibility of another corporate war, and I'd be shocked if it doesn't play a role. The corporate wars are some of the most important events in Cyberpunk history, yet players have mostly experienced their aftermath rather than the wars themselves. So if CDPR wants bigger stakes, bigger conflicts, that's what you do. Corporations fighting through proxies. The gangs, they have to choose the sides. Governments, they become basically irrelevant. That, to me, sounds like a large-scale conflict a sequel could build around. And then, of course, when you have scale, you have to have the Unreal Engine 5. The transition matters more than people think. Cyberpunk 2077 was built on the Red engine. It did create some really good visuals. It also created significant development challenges. So CD Projekt eventually decided to move everything to the Unreal Engine. But they're not simply using stock Unreal. They're actively modifying it and building tools around it for their own open-world games. And the goal appears to be getting the benefits of Unreal while still creating that massive RPG experience that CDPR is known for. So if that works, Cyberpunk 2 could end up benefiting from all of those things. And it's important because when this game launches, we're probably talking about hardware significantly more powerful than what we have available today. And launch, well, we always talk about the release window, and this is probably the part you're not going to like. Cyberpunk 2 is not coming anytime soon. I think we all know that. Everything CDPR has pointed to says it's years away. When company leadership discussed development timelines, 4 to 5 years pre-production type vibe. So here, I'll give you my estimated guesses like I always do. I think we're going to get it somewhere around 2029 to 2031. And you're saying, Jimmy, you just gave us a 2-year span. Well, I know, I did. It sounds crazy, but I think CD Projekt Red is taking their sweet time, especially after what happened with Cyberpunk 2077's launch. Nobody wants a rush release. Nobody wants another situation where expectations cannot be met. So that's where I'm at. I think it's going to fall 2030. I do. So we're in 2026. That's 4 years away. I know it feels like a long time, but it may not be. I mean, it could go by fast. You got GTA 6 once it gets here to keep you busy, right? And then we'll have, The Witcher 4. We'll have all kinds of games to keep you busy. And then one day you'll look up, you'll be like, oh my gosh, Cyberpunk 2 is right around the corner. I'll keep you guys posted if anything new breaks, and I'll see you soon.